How strong is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? As power scaling isn't a main focus of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, battles within the series are often self-contained with their dynamics more centered around the story and character interactions rather than raw power levels. However, for fans and enthusiasts like me who seek a deeper understanding of the franchise's strength hierarchy, a detailed analysis becomes essential. Now, at a foundational level, we start in Phantom Blood with Tarkus versus Jonathan's group. As a portrayal of strength and an attempt to trap them all together, Tarkus strikes the ground and causes a part of the mountain that they're standing on to start collapsing. Now, while this is a feat of strength, it isn't even Tarkus going all out, and instead is just a simple action that he's done, and when calculated, this had been a building level feat. This is on similar level to Kid Naruto, really early on to the series, or Yuji Itadori from JJK, but still pre-Shibuya incident because he does get stronger. It's like the average level of strength before a franchise gets to its true hitters, and that was casually Tarkus. Now, while I think that Tarkus is for sure capable of more than this, in the context of the story, he didn't do enough environmental damage or scale enough to where we could get the idea. I've even tried calculating Jonathan breaking his own iron neck brace, but even that feat was building level also, so it didn't really matter. And considering that Jonathan could do it, but Tarkus couldn't, leaves more evidence that these characters are just varying levels of the same tier, which is good for accuracy, but bad for my bias and intention on making these characters busted. I'm just fooled again by my sheer honesty, Well, before looking to other feats of strength, let's approach the list provided to us in the series. Well, it's a food chain. Humans are at the bottom, as usual. Vampires in second, and Pillarmen are at the top of them. Vampires, a step above humans, showcase enhanced strength and resilience. They're definitely a leap in power, yet they are not the pinnacle. This title belongs to the Pillarmen, beings of immense power whose abilities dwarf those to an average vampire, and ultimate cars would be above all here. But we know that because in terms of actual physicality, Ultimate Cars has demonstrated more than enough to be considered the strongest non-stand user here. Now, Jotaro is still the strongest stand user in terms of actual strength. And no, please do not mention Dio and his potential, because the fact of the matter is that he lost the fight. We can't really do much past that. But for the next feat of strength, or more so, I guess, energy output, which can be put into a category that lists the potency of an attack. Some call it AP, attack potency, but regardless. Here we have the sun. Now, there's this calc provided by Jabber Godot, smaller YouTuber, and he's cool, that essentially has the sun at a potentially large mountain level, capable of destroying a mountain, or more so being able to provide energy that'd be able to do that. And this is, that's more so a bit under, calculation of how effective the stand is. That's what the original calc that I had that was fairly old. I wanted to double check this before putting into a video because I didn't know that there were other versions. So I double calced it to see what this stand did, because lighting up more than the Saudi Arabian desert is one thing, but there was also that could be factor in how much it was to illuminate the whole area, and plus raising the temperature to a level that's above the average, especially considering that it was like a terrible heat wave in terms of what it looked like during the, it looked like, oh, there's a terrible heat wave going around in the day when it was actually nighttime. And oh my goodness, I thought double checking it was going to make it, better. I got worse, if anything. I was double checking it, and I got 34 gigatons. I wanted to find something like, oh, maybe it's like, maybe JoJo characters are capable of, messing up a city like by themselves. I got 34 gigatons. That's island level. A whole island? It's wild, Good God. And Polnareff deflected concentrated blasts of this sun energy. To play it safe, we could just have every other stand user below the sun, because we don't know how much power is being output compared by the two. We just know that the sun is capable of outputting that much, and we do know that Polnareff is able to reflect it. which is also extremely strong too. I feel like that it was very possible that I messed it up somewhere down the line. I double asked with Jobber, and they said that everything's pretty good, but I think putting our strong stand users at mountain or large mountain level is safe compared to what I got with this calc. There are more versions of this calc which have different variations which lower the power and have it more normalized as, oh, JoJo characters are strong enough to do this, city level and stuff like that. But the issue isn't in the result. I'm pretty sure everyone gets their math right. It's more so about the factors going into it. Because imagine you have 2 times 3 and you get 6. It's like, okay, true, that is exactly how that is, but what if it wasn't 2 and what if it wasn't 3? That's the issue, the factors at hand. My calculation was based on calculating the whole desert, and that's not always the case for a lot of other people. Sometimes they do a smaller portion of it, and sometimes they do a pretty accurate version, and it's around that ballpark. So yeah, city to at max, island level, which is fairly reasonable considering the range and how you're, it's like, okay, how you can interpret it. But yeah, long story short, mountain level attack potency, ideally. Now, in terms of comparing the power systems here, in the realm of stands, we have these manifestations of psychic power add to our dimensions, the series strength spectrum and all of that. You have stands like Star Platinum and Silver Chariot. They demonstrate feats of speed and power that transcend the capabilities of most of these vampires, and most possibly the Pillarmen, but it's not always about raw strength, it's how they use their abilities. And the abilities range so far in their types that I can't just say that every stand user has a chance of beating something like a Pillarman. The range goes from being, oh hey, this stand is a contender to fight Goku, all the way down to you actually wish you didn't have this stand. You would be better off not having it, So the food chain makes a lot of sense, even with it being a pre-stand user type thing, but the stands make it vary a lot more. But this area now where we're here, this is where we've tapped into, the speed area of the video. Now there normally is a type of person who truly hates any time light speed is brought up with JoJo, and I don't really understand it. I've gotten certain comments that are like, oh, please, just don't do this. I would love if you didn't bring up the words Lightspeed and JoJo together, but it's unfortunate because with the evidence that we have, Lightspeed is usually a minimum. I think it starts with the Hanged Man battle. We had Polnareff state that he knows that the stand is moving at the speed of light, and he's able to slash it. They also fight against the sun, and Silver Chariot reflects all of its sunbeam attacks like it's nothing. But I completely understand how things get crossed up and confused, because you'll have lines about, Crazy Diamond punching at 300 kilometers an hour, or the fact that Polnareff couldn't dodge the Emperor's bullets, and it's like, oh, bullet, that's way less than light, of course. Though it's easy to respond that, Emperor is most likely shooting lightspeed bullets for the fact that, Star Platinum and Silver Chariot are close in speed. Star Platinum most likely getting it over Silver Chariot if Silver Chariot has its armor on. And Star Platinum can catch a bullet at point blank range, so Emperor's bullets being the actual speed of a regular gun wouldn't really make any sense. Plus, it isn't a regular gun, it's a stand. So we should definitely think about it like that. If it was different, if it was like Mista, then yeah, maybe. But even then, Sex Pistols itself would vary on that too. It differentiates. There's a lot of context and stipulation for a lot of this stuff. It's not saying that JoJo itself is inconsistent. There are a few contradictory statements, of course, and moments that would need explanations due to it all. But, Star Platinum gets confirmed to be faster than the speed of light, even in Stone Ocean. And some people interpret it as, oh, well, that's when they're talking about when they're moving in time stop. That's when they're faster than the speed of light, which is a common perception anti-feed interpretation, because there are a lot of people who don't see Lightspeed and JoJo making sense, and they would most likely like it for JoJo to be, oh, maybe it's just hypersonic is just really not that fast at all. But unfortunately, I'm not one of those anti-feed interpreters right there, because I'm more aligned in what the narrative has been suggesting, at least Star Platinum in specific, and just all the higher end stands that they do operate at or beyond the speed of light. And this isn't really an arbitrary power scaling thing. I do think it's a deliberate choice, at least in the context of parts, 1 through 6, that affects the storytelling and the complexity of these battles. With the durability, it's most likely the same as attack potency. Realistically, it shouldn't be that bad of an idea. We see Jotaro versus Dio, and they're getting hit. They provide the same amount of damage, yada, yada, yada. Durability is never really a big thing about this. And if we're being even real, none of all these factors, attack potency, speed, well, speed's a huge one, but durability, it's not that bad, Because you're this far into the video, if you're unfamiliar with the strength of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you're like, yeah, this shouldn't be that bad. Mountain level strength, light speed combat, that's still not enough to beat Goku. And you're completely right, You would be 1 billion% right that would not be enough to beat Goku, of course. The regular factors of power scaling are usually not what lets JoJo characters go even or potentially win against some of the most famous characters in fiction. It's the abilities. Because besides the temporal manipulating abilities, here are the abilities that make JoJo infamous, in the power scaling community. Because firstly, we have Gold Experience Requiem. GR's primary ability is to revert actions and their effects to the state of 0, effectively nullifying them. This means that any action directed against a GR or its user, whether it be an attack or any form of aggression, will be negated and reset as it never happened. This ability operates independently of the user's will, making it both an automatic and unbeatable in terms of defense. And it's a manifestation of just complete control over a cause and effect and even transcended time. It's amazing. The other two abilities are going to be from the manga, so if you don't want to get spoiled, cover your ears. I'm not sure how you go about this. But second, this one has been on the come up ever since its introduction, which is Wonder of You from JoJolion. When someone intends to harm or chase Wonder of You, they inevitably encounter unfortunate and often disastrous events as a consequence. These calamities are not directly created by the stand, but are more so like a curse that triggers negative outcomes in the environment, turning situational factors against the pursuer. This ability is a form of passive defense, deterring aggression by making the cost of pursuing or attacking just impossible. And since those are two defensive abilities, here's an offensive one with finally getting to Tusk Act 4. Tusk Act 4's ability is centered around the concept of infinite rotation. When this power is unleashed, it creates a rotational energy that can be transferred to a target, causing endless spinning at a molecular level. This rotation is unstoppable and irreversible, continuing indefinitely. This power is so immense that it can transcend space and time, meaning its effects cannot be easily escaped or negated. This ability represents a form of absolute, unending force, making it one of the most challenging powers in the series. So that is truly what makes JoJo. It's a good lesson in creativity because Araki messes with all of these concepts and turns them to abilities rather than making the characters just individually stronger and having that stack on part after part, which is good. I don't think planet busting JoJo is necessary, but the fact is we have things that can essentially keep the planet from blowing up depending on who they're going against. And then, hey, to me, that's JoJo, because retaining your humanity and maximizing your potential and going all in and what we have is truly what speaks to the streets here. And I think that's why JoJo is just such an odd one out when it comes to power scaling. It happens to be the one that's counted out realistically a lot of the time, but very much capable franchise, very much capable series in the context of power scaling. But, I hope that I've covered everything that we've needed to. That's pretty much everything that covered at least a basis of power scaling JoJo. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.